Alright, so I'm going to show how to open up and disassemble this HP laptop model 14-CF1015CL. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is remove these rubber pieces here because they hide some screws under there. I just use my fingernail. You can use whatever works for you. Sometimes it helps to use like a needle or a flathead screwdriver, but just get underneath. Make sure that you are peeling up the adhesive with it so that the screw holes aren't being covered. Alright, and then you kind of just want to pull this up. Alright, just like this. Alright, so we're going to set this aside, leave the sticky side up so that it doesn't collect all dirt and stuff from whatever surface you're putting it down on. Alright, we're going to do the same thing with this one. Just peel that out. Okay, make sure you get underneath the adhesive. Alright, let's see, are there? Okay, there are screws under here as well. Alright, there's only one screw underneath the bottom one. Alright, so we're going to need a PH1 or JIS1 screwdriver to remove the screws. Alright, you want to keep the screws in order because they can be different size, shape, and lengths. The way I do that, I put the flat side down in the pattern I remove them. So you see 3 here, and then you see, I guess you can count that as 3. Alright, and then just put them in rows like that. Whatever helps you remember where to put them back the best. Okay, if this video helps you, make sure to like, subscribe, and share my channel with others so that they can also learn how to work on their devices. Alright, and if this video helps you save a bunch of money, please consider contributing to the channel so that I can continue doing this for a living. I do these repairs already for a living. These are customer computers, but as I continue making more and more of these videos, my business actually decreases as people learn to fix them themselves. So please help me out as I help out everyone else. Alright, so here we go. So the 2 screws on the front here are like a lighter gray, and then these ones are more of like a shiny silver. Okay, so keep that in mind if you happen to get the screws mixed up, that the 2 on the front are more of a silver color. Alright, once you get all the screws out, what you're going to do is flip this over. We're going to open this up slightly, alright, and what we want to do is, as you can see in here, there's a little gap between the silver and the dark gray or black. Right, what I do is I get my fingernails in that gap. You can use pry tools if you want, but I find fingernails work the best for this. So I get my fingernails in there, and then with my thumbs I push while I pull with my other fingernails, and here you can hear that it the clips pop out. Okay, so here you can see. All right, just like that. All right, just going all around the edges, just like this. All right, and then we're gonna slowly close the computer back down. Right, and here you can see, I think we got all the clips. Oh, we missed a few. So the back clips are a little bit tricky sometimes. So you might have to, once you get all the side ones out, you can kind of move the case around like forward and backwards like this as you kind of go. And there you go, it kind of will come up. Kind of got to wiggle it around. All right, this one, there we go. All right, so we got the bottom cover off. As you can see, it's pretty dusty here, so we're gonna have to clean that up. This customer's computer, it just boots to a blank black screen, so we're not really sure what's going on with it. There's a slot here for a 2.5-inch SATA hard drive, but if you get that, you will need an adapter. The little connector goes over here. All right, so you need a SATA cable connector for this. All right, there's only 1 stick of RAM here, so the RAM pops out. Let me zoom in a little bit. So the RAM pops out like this. You just pull these 2 tabs to the side. It goes up at an angle like this. Usually it doesn't fall out by itself, but you can grab this and then pull it out. I don't know why there's like a purple dot or pinkish purple dot there. Right? Sometimes the RAM goes bad, which might cause the issue they're having. So you just use your fingers like this and wipe the connectors off. All right. I've had some people use some kind of cleaning solutions and then they screw up their RAM. So you kind of want to avoid that. All right, unless you have something specific for that. You can use some rubbing alcohol, but if you do, you want to make sure it's completely dry before you turn it back on, because sometimes the water left in the rubbing alcohol can damage the computer. All right, there's random little bits of plastic and stuff rolling around in here. But anyways, let's go ahead and remove this screw here for the SSD. All right, once you remove the screw, the SSD pops out just like the RAM, and then you can go ahead and pull this back. So this looks like a M.2 SATA. All right, let's see here. Oh, actually, this is a NVMe SSD. So there's a 256 gig M.2 PCIe NVMe SSD. It's a Toshiba SSD. I don't know if this supports M.2 SATAs, but if you're going to replace the SSD, make sure it's M.2 PCIe NVMe. Normally, the NVMe SSDs only have one notch in the connector here, and the SATA ones have 2 notches, but it's not always the case. As you can see, this is an NVMe SSD, but it has 2 notches in it. So I don't really go by how many notches or where the notch is. Just make sure it's a PCIe NVMe, all right? So I'm going to leave the SSD out as well, just in case that's causing the issue. So let me actually try turning this on and see what happens. So we're going to open this carefully because now there's 2, oops, let me zoom out here. I'm going to open this carefully because now there's 2 less screws holding the hinges down. Oh, it looks like some of this frame is also breaking. Here you can see like the frame that was holding the screw in place is like bad. So I don't know if this was dropped or anything before, because that's kind of weird that it's just broken off like that. I'm going to have to use some glue to hold that. Alright, it looks like actually this battery's not lining up right in the little socket here, so maybe someone opened this or something happened and this stuff isn't lined up right, so it kind of just cracked the plastic, I think. Alright, anyways, let's go ahead and open this and we're going to power it up and see if anything happens. When we were turning this on before, the screen just comes on. Let's see here, is there anything happening? Nothing's happening right now. Let's try the button again. Okay, so the screen just went black and it lights up. Oh, and now it's actually coming up. So before it wouldn't even show this hard drive error. So if we're lucky, it could just be their RAM was bad or it got knocked out. Again, maybe it was dropped or something because this stuff is cracked. So we're gonna, let's see, what did I do? My super glue's missing. All right, let's get some super glue and stick that piece back in and see if that will, if it will actually stay or not. I don't know if it will. Okay, put a little super glue here. Want to be careful because we don't want this on the battery itself. Okay. Trying to get the super glue in there. All right. Hopefully this will just hold it enough that this piece will stay in place. Okay. Alright, we're just going to hold that there for about 30 seconds. Okay, so again, before the screen would boot to black and nothing would come up at all. Alright, and I'm going to like explain the components here, but I'm not going to completely take it apart right now. I'm going to actually take the battery out just so you can see under, and then we're going to go over the other components here, but the customer's waiting outside and they don't want me to do a complete disassembly, so I'm just going to take out what needs to be taken out to test and make sure everything's working okay. Alright, so let's go ahead and take out the battery. Again, you want to keep all the screws in order because they can be different size, shape, and lengths. If you mix them up, you can damage your computer. Alright. So I'm going to keep holding this thing down as I take the battery screws out. Okay. Alright, that should be long enough. Alright, so remove all these screws for the battery. So 3 here and then 1 down here. The battery model number, if it's needed, is HT03XL. Alright, let's actually zoom in a bit and I'll show you the battery closer up. Okay, here you can see HT03XL, and then you got the HP spare part number here, L11119-855. Alright, 4 ones. Alright, so let's go ahead and pull this up. So now that we got the screws out, we're just going to go underneath these little tabs here and just pull this up just like that. It goes up at an angle slightly, and there you go. So actually this tab looks like it's just broken. It's missing a piece of the plastic. So anyways, here you have the keyboard backlight connector, keyboard connector. You got the trackpad buttons as well as the trackpad connector that goes, trackpad goes to the buttons, then the cable goes from the buttons there. Right, you got the wireless card. If you want to see how to remove these connectors, I have other videos that show these, but basically there's these little flip tabs. You flip it up and then you can pull the connector out and then you can flip it back down. I don't want to mess around with too much of this stuff because the computer is starting up again, so it looks like we fixed the problem. or at least we found the root of the problem. I think it's the SSD, but we're gonna find out once I clean this up and put the SSD back in. All right, you got the fan connector here. These connectors, you just grab these and then you kind of just wiggle them slowly as you kind of pull it, and eventually they'll pop out. You got this connector for the USB-C board and the SD card slot. All right, and that runs to the motherboard underneath. You got the wireless antenna, the wireless antenna cable going down here underneath to here. There's only one antenna, so this doesn't have dual, what do you call? Dual frequency or whatever, the 5 gigahertz and 2.4. All right, then you got, or dual band, that's what it's called. All right, then you got the speaker connector here. Same thing like the fan, you just grab the wings of this connector and you just wiggle it as you pull it out, and eventually it will pop out. Same thing with this connector here, which is the DC jack or the charge port connector. If you're going to mess with the LCD or LVDS connector, make sure after you remove the battery that you open up the computer and then press and hold the power button for 10 to 15 seconds. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm not going to mess with the cable, so I don't really need to do this, but I'm just going to do it just to show. All right. And once you do this, the main battery is actually used as the CMOS or the BIOS battery. So when you power it back on, it's going to tell you that the BIOS was reset and that you need to basically set up the date and time and everything like that. All right, so anyways, the speaker connector goes through this, and then the other cable runs along to the other speaker. So they're both connected through that one. And the LCD cable just has that same flip tab. To get to the DC jack, you do have to remove the LCD cable as well as lift this hinge up. So you'd have to take all these screws out, and then you'd have to like pull this hinge up. The easiest way I found to do that is once you remove all the screws, or you can actually open the computer slightly. All right, and then you can take all the screws out, and then when you drop the thing back down, it will actually keep the hinge up, and then you can easily grab underneath and flip it up. But anyways, I'm going to clean the dust out of here. We're going to put the SSD back in and then the battery, and we'll see if it boots up or if it's still having problems. I forgot to mention the RAM. Let me pop this back out. Or yeah, it's PC4 2400T. So if you want to replace the RAM, make sure you get PC4 2400T. The size doesn't really matter. This is an 8 gig stick. You can get another 8 gig stick for the best performance, or you can get two 16 gig sticks for even better. Usually you don't want to mix and match different sizes, or it doesn't work as well using the dual channel memory. But yeah. All right, let me go clean this up and I'll be back. See you guys in a bit. All right, I'm back. Cleaned out the bottom of here, cleaned out the fan, as you can see. All right, let's go ahead and put back the SSD, and then we'll put back the battery and see how it boots up. All right, so SSD, just grab that, put it in at an angle like that, like before. All right, get the screwdriver, let this go down. All right, make sure it's lined up right, and then get the screw and tighten that into place. Sometimes on these computers, when you put the battery back in, you will have to plug it in before it will let you turn it back on. So we'll see if on this model if we have to do that or not. All right, we're going to line up the battery just like before. Okay. Then once you get everything lined up, okay, you want to make sure the pins up here are lined up, and then just push that into place. There we go. Let's go ahead and put all the screws back into the battery, the 3 along the top and the 1 in the bottom left corner. Okay, just like this. All right, just like that. Then we'll get the last one down in the bottom left corner here. There we go. All right, let's see if it powers up before we put the bottom cover off. So again, we're going to open this slowly and carefully. Okay. And then we're going to open up or press the power button. Let's see if anything happens or if I'm going to have to plug it in. So far nothing is happening. Okay, let's try one more time. Power button. Oops, sorry, let me zoom out so you guys can see the whole thing. All right, power button again. Okay, I see the screen going black, so I didn't have to plug it in. But again, it's going to take a while because we resetted the BIOS when we pulled the battery out and held the power button. So give this a few seconds. It's going to like turn itself back off, turn it back on, turn itself off, turn it back on. So you don't want to be impatient and like hold the power button and kill it. because then that could mess up the computer. As you can see, it's eventually turning itself back on. Here you can see, oops, hopefully you can see that. CMOS has been reset, and there you go. This is with the SSD back in, so most likely it was an issue with the RAM. So it says press enter to reboot the system. We're going to press enter. Hopefully it wasn't the SSD and it's going to boot up just fine. If we're lucky, it was just the RAM, so we'll find out soon enough. Alright, the computer should be rebooting itself again. Alright, you don't have to keep turning it off and on. Once you see the screen changing colors, just let it sit for a while. If after leaving it for like half an hour or something, nothing happens, you can go back in and check your RAM. Maybe your RAM is bad. But actually here you can see it's just staying on this black screen again, so most likely it's not the RAM that's the issue, and I think what's happening is it's trying to read the SSD right now, but it can't read it, and that's why it's stuck. So just to make sure, what I'm gonna do, because normally it shouldn't take this long after resetting it, usually it's like a minute or so. Alright, so because it's stuck like that, actually we can see this light here on the side blinking. So that's the light to the left. Let's see on here on the side panel. So you can see that's the hard drive light. So the hard drive light is flashing, and it's flashing in a steady pattern. It's not doing like normally when the hard drive reads, it flashes at different patterns and intervals. Here you can see it's flashing at a steady pattern. That means something is weird with the SSD. So let's go ahead and power this off. Okay. Alright, I'm going to pull the SSD and watch. After this, it's going to boot up to the thing saying basically there's no boot device. Alright, so let's go ahead and take this out. Grab that, pull that out. I'm going to put the screw back in there. You want to be very careful when working on this with the battery connected. Alright. And there we go. Alright, let's go ahead and press the power button. Alright, so watch this. It should boot up a lot faster, and it should... Okay, no boot device found. That's good. So it's actually doing something now. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put a Linux boot device in there. Let me see, where did I throw those? Okay. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to boot up to Parted Magic. So let's go ahead and plug my USB in here. Okay, so we're just plugging a bootable USB into there. So now what we're going to do, we're going to turn this off, and then we're going to boot from that. So we're going to power this on, and we're going to push F9 while it's booting up, and this should let us select the, there you go, temporary boot device. I'm going to select my UEFI SanDisk drive, and there we go. So here you can see it's working perfectly fine without the SSD in there. So definitely the SSD is an issue. I turned off the computer. So now I'm going to just pull this out. We're going to put it back together, and I'm going to let my customer decide. Actually, let me ask my customer real quick, and then depending what they decide, I will do the reassembly later, so that way I don't have to do it over like multiple times. Alright, so I'll see you guys in a bit. Bye. Alright, I'm back. So we got the SSD here. Alright, so we're just going to open this up. Alright, pop that out. Get this out. Alright, so it's an M.2 PCIe NVMe, Crucial 500 gig. Alright, so we left the old SSD out already. Let's go ahead and put the new one in. Alright, so we're going to use the PH1 or JAS1 screwdriver. Let's go ahead and remove this screw. Alright. Pop this open. Take this, and we're just going to put the new SSD into there. So just like that. Alright. Grab the screw. We're going to put that into there. Alright, there we go. So pretty much all that's left to do is put it back together, and then we're going to install Windows to it. So to install Windows, I created a Windows USB installer. If you want to see how to do that, feel free to post a comment in my comment section below, and I will link you to that. But it's pretty straightforward. Microsoft actually provides an image for that. You just need another computer to be able to do it. Alright, so let's go ahead and put the cover back on. Just gonna get everything lined back up. Okay, it looks like we have to kind of do the USB-C side first, I think. Okay, there we go. And let's just go ahead and click everything back in. Might have to open it up slightly to make sure we can click everything in properly. Alright, looks like everything's in. Alright, except for the back corners over here. Alright, make sure that's all clicked in. Alright, there we go. Let's close this. Make sure that's all clicked in. There we go. Now let's go ahead and put back all these screws. So 3 screws again on the back. Alright. And that's pretty much it. You're welcome to stay. Oh, the other thing, to boot the external USB, you press F9 on boot. So while the computer's starting up, just keep pressing F9 and you can actually select a temporary boot device. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll actually show that. But other than that, that's pretty much all there is to this video. Again, hopefully this video helped you guys. If it did, make sure to like, subscribe, and share my channel with others. If it helped you save a bunch of money, oops, did I just put the wrong screws in? If it helped you save a bunch of money, again, please consider contributing a little to my channel. Every little bit helps and is greatly appreciated. Alright. And other than that, let's get on to putting the rest of everything back together. Alright, so we're going to get these little rubber feet thingies back on. Okay. So you just stick like this so you have these. Alright, make sure you get it lined up the right way. Okay. Flip that back over. Get that in. There we go. Get that in. Go, and push that all back down. Okay, then we got the other one here. Kind of like to make sure, if you look at the adhesive, you can see where the screws were before, and I like to try and get it back in the same spot as before. Alright, so this one has the 3 in there. So get that little dimple in there. Work our way over here, get that dimple in over there. There we go, and push it all back together. Alright, now let's go ahead and flip this over. Oops, I actually already turned that back on. Let's turn this back off. Okay, so we're going to plug in the Windows USB installer. Power it up. And then again, like I said, just press F9, F9, F9. Okay, I think I turned it back on. No? Okay, it's turning back on. Just keep pressing F9, or maybe I turned it back off. On some models, they make the button light up. This model doesn't do that, so it's hard to tell. Alright. I see the screen just go a different color for a little bit. Come on, boot up. See it flickering right now. What is it doing? For some reason, the laptop screen is just flickering. It was on earlier, so I don't know what's going on. Let's go ahead and hold the power button to completely drain it. Alright, let's power it back up. Maybe it does have some other issue with it. I don't know what's going on. It's not wanting to power up right now. Very strange. Maybe the SSD wasn't the issue. Maybe it's the slot itself, because now that I put an SSD in there, it's having problems again. So let's go ahead and pull this back out. I'm going to try plugging the charger in, and then we'll see if it has the same issue. So I powered it on and it's just flickering right now. So yeah. Alright, let me get the charger. I'll be back. See you guys in a bit. So apparently even with the charger it does the same thing, so I'm gonna have to take it back apart and see if I can figure out what's going on. I'll try taking the SSD back out and see what happens. Alright, I'll see you guys in a bit. So the laptop's working now. Basically just rechecked all the connections, removed the battery, put it back in, and it's good to go. Alright, that's pretty much it. See you all on another one.